So in terms as a female-led, Black female-led business, obviously she was revolutionary in doing so. What kind of structures and strategies did Madam C.J. Walker have in place then that you think still would be useful now, hundreds of years later?
You know, it is really amazing that the sort of core foundational elements of a successful business that she tried to institute are still in operation. And one thing she would say is that first you have to have a great product. And you know, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, whether it's you yourself, that you have to start with that. So, you know, no fakes, no fraud. So, and then you have to promote it. And she advertised extensively in the Black press. She hired people who could do advertising, so she knew how to put together an ad. And then she traveled extensively to promote the product. So she didn't have the internet, so she had to physically go to places. But as she traveled, she was very intentional about making people aware that it was more than just hair care products. So she would do take out an ad. She had to plan her travel because Black people couldn't stay in hotels for the most part. And she would stay with a minister or a doctor in a town, but she had all of that planned out as she went from coast to coast. And then she would book time, a visit to a large church. And first she would give a lecture that with what was called a stereopticon. So it was like an early 1900s version of PowerPoint, glass slides that were projected onto a screen. And in those slides, she would show Black businesses, Black schools, famous Black people. She'd talk about current events. And that was to a large crowd. And then afterwards, as part of her recruiting of agents, she would meet with a smaller group of women, maybe 10 to 15 women, and she would demonstrate her process and talk about what the business was like and how they could become Walker agents. And she would watch who the woman was, who other women gravitated towards, who had some charisma, who asked the best questions, who seemed to be organized. And she would make that woman her lead agent. And then she would travel on to the next city and repeat that. So she's recruiting women. She was very intentional about her executive suite. She hired a great lawyer, F.B. Ransom, even though F.B. Ransom is not really portrayed in the way that he really was in real life. In the film, he was integral to what she did. So where he has this made up cousin named Sweetness, who's a pimp and a numbers runner, in real life, F.B. Ransom was like this total straight arrow who had taken a vow at 12 years old to never drink, gamble, or smoke. So he wouldn't have done those things. And you get this sense that, some of the money that was invested in her business was illegal money. That would never have happened. F.B. Ransom was the person who crossed the T's and dotted the I's, made sure things ran properly at the factory so she could travel and be a visionary. She also hired Shavana. The person I was referencing was a woman named Alice Kelly, who Madam Walker, who had been a dean of girls at a Black boarding school in Kentucky. And Madam Walker had met her in her travels, and they really hit it off. And she hired Alice Kelly to be the manager of her factory because she knew how to motivate women. And she also worked with her as her private tutor because Madam Walker had not had a lot of education. So she wanted to have people around her who could enhance her and who would bring something to the table and then take things to the next level. And one way that has really paid off is that Alice Kelly brought in a young teenager who was a secretary from her hometown in Alabama named Violet Davis. And Violet Davis was secretary, remained with the company until 1979. So from 1914 to 1979. She was past her, time, but one of the things, that loyalty that Madam Walker had developed, it is because of Violet Davis that all of these business records that we have exist, because she guarded them, she protected them, she preserved them. And so we were able to donate those tens of thousands of records to the Indiana Historical Society to be able to tell that story. And so finally, I would say developing your legacy, keeping good records, that is important as well. And because we live in such an electronic world now, with such a digitized world, we don't necessarily have the paper records of what's going on. But Beulah, as you are creating things, make sure that you're archiving things so that 100 years after you guys are gone, there is, some archival documentation of what you did.
Super helpful. Super helpful. Yeah. I didn't, I think, especially as you mentioned, we live in a digitized world. It's very much like paper is obsolete and just is dismissed. So I think what you mentioned about having paper and something that is tangible that can be held on for years to come is really important. Something I just didn't think of. So that's fantastic.
And it's part of the reason. So that there's a controversy about Annie Malone and Madam Walker, and I really agree with the people who object to the way Annie Malone is portrayed. I mean, I think that it's really unfortunate. And they were both really successful businesswomen. But I think part of the reason Madam Walker is more remembered is because of some of these decisions she made about her executive team. Mm-hmm. And because she, it was F.B. Ransom who made sure that she kept people away from her who weren't helpful, where Annie Malone made some decisions about the guys she married who really undermined her, about some deals she made with some of her employees who sued her, about not paying her taxes. F.B. Ransom made sure Madam Walker paid her taxes. So those kinds of things make a difference. And then Madam Walker's decision to become more involved in politics, to not have it strictly be business. And one other key factor about why one is remembered more than the other, Madam Walker died at the height of her fame, where Annie Malone lived another few decades and had really kind of lost her empire. And then Alelia Walker had persuaded her mother that they needed to have a presence in Harlem in 1913. Well, that meant they were in the center of media and culture and all of those things, that anything Black was being written about in Harlem.
Yes, for sure. And actually, something else has just come back to my mind, taking the conversation back a little bit of a step. You mentioned that she was really great at marketing and selling her product. In Self-Made, there is a scene around the Walker girl. How accurate is, one, that conversation, and two, that image?
Totally made up. That's totally made up. You see this poster behind me, the original product container for Madam Walker's Wonderful Hair Grower. She, from the very beginning, put her own image on her product. Mm-hmm. That was really a statement at a time when there were white-owned companies. If you look in advertisements in the 1890s, there were other products that were already on the market long before Madam Walker or Annie Malone, marketing to Black women. Some were Black-owned, a few were Black-owned, but they were mostly white companies. And where Madam Walker used a before and after picture in her ads, where you could see where her hair was kind of patchy in one to show the before, and then the after picture was this sort of a front view and a side view, like a big bushy mane of hair. And she used that picture for her product container. But the white companies would have a pen and ink drawing of before and after, and they'd have a Black woman who's had splotchy skin and hair that was kind of unstyled. And then the after picture would be a Gibson girl, which most white women couldn't be. They couldn't attain that. But yes, the Walker girl was not, that was really made up by the writer.
Okay.
And I think the women, I look at pictures of the women who are at the conventions, and there's a group photo in 1917 and a group photo in 1918. And I look at those women, and those are women, who are dignified, who are hardworking, many of whom have been former maids and laundresses and sharecroppers, and in some cases school teachers, but who are business women. you know, that's who they are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the ethoses that we stand by as a brand. I know I'm kind of speaking for media at this point, but that all of us have our own business within the business. So we make it our business to really champion the area of expertise that we kind of oversee, and ensure that we all kind of ensure that this is many different pieces to a very beautiful tapestry. So yeah, I absolutely think that that mirrors Treasure Trust as well. Any other business questions?
I've definitely got one. So speaking on the business area that we're in now, take us through the journey to modern day and the Sundial collaboration and the birth of Madam C.J. Walker products through Sundial.
Sure. I was glad to see Shea Moisture listed on your, listed in the group of logos. So that's wonderful. Richelieu Dennis has been a godsend. Just really excited about this relationship. So the company itself, founded in 1906, was flourishing through the 1950s, and then the chemical hair straightener business disrupted what was Poro, Annie Malone's company, the Apex, which was founded by Sarah Spencer Washington, and the Walker Company. So those were the three big companies started early in the 20th century, founded by women. But by the 1950s, when chemical hair straighteners began to come on stream, Johnson Products, Summit Laboratories, Soft Sheen disrupted that market. So then women, then now they could go swimming and whatever. And then the Afro then disrupted that market. So, late 1960s, early 1970s. And some of the companies adapted by creating Afro Sheen, or products that were directed toward Afros. And then that pendulum kept swinging back and forth, and Asians took over the hair care market. Many of the Black companies were purchased by L'Oreal and Revlon and Alberto Culver. So then we have like a grab bag of all kinds of things: hair being imported, products made by Asians, Black companies being sold. And then we got to another space about, a decade or so ago, when in the case of Shea Moisture, it was 25 years ago, so Carol's daughter. So let's say the last 20, 25 years, where Black-owned companies were now asserting themselves again. Mm-hmm. And then the explosion of YouTube made it possible for people to see, how can I do this? What else can I do? So we're now at the point where we are embracing our natural hair. We have products that are really made for us. So where did Richelieu come in? Walker Company was owned by members of my family and another family, F.B. Ransom's family, until the mid-1980s. It was sold to another company, a Black company, in the mid-1980s, and they owned the trademark through about 2007 or so, maybe a little bit longer, when Richelieu bought the trademark. So for that 30 years or so, they weren't really a player, and I didn't have any real involvement with them. But Richelieu bought the trademark because he knew about Madam Walker. Growing up in Liberia, he had heard of Madam Walker. Madam Walker had actually tried to start a school in Liberia. Alelia Walker had entertained the president of Liberia at Villa Lawaro, Madam Walker's mansion, in 1921. So there was a little bit of a connection already. And then Richelieu came to the United States. You may know this story. He came to the U.S. to go to college, to Babson College. And his mom flew over on the last plane leaving Liberia during the war in 1991 to go to his graduation. And they couldn't go back. So now they had to make a living. And so they started using his Sierra Leone grandmother's shea butter recipe and selling it on the corner on 125th and 5th. And of course, made that into Shea Moisture and then Nubian Heritage, or maybe it was the other way around. And then he purchased this trademark for Madam C.J. Walker and wanted to develop a line of products. Right now, the products are sold exclusively at Sephora, but we're really excited that to have this connection with Richelieu, with the work that he's doing, with his community commerce, with his ownership of Essence. And he cares so much about women of color entrepreneurs, as you may know, that he's created this New Voices Fund, $100 million venture capital fund, and a foundation that he created, now owns Madam Walker's mansion. Wow. So it is a full circle story for me.